We went here.
And Peter had his little pilgrimage.
It's not a pilgrimage. It's you know how when you went to visit your granny, it had a sort of sense of home, but it wasn't home?
No.
Okay. When I went to visit my granny when I lived down in England and came up to Scotland, and even though, the place she lived wasn't that great, it just felt like it just felt comfortable. And that's what I feel when I go to Torderby. It's just comfortable.
That's fair. It is comfortable.
It was lovely.
But yeah, so following up yesterday's video, we drove to Torderby and we met with Benjamin and Frederick, who are the owners.
Yes.
Just nicest men you could possibly meet. They're just fabulous.
Yes.
And we went to the vineyard first.
Yes.
Met them there. And it is beautiful. It's exactly what you would think about like a rustic old vineyard from, the early 1900s. Stevie said he felt like he was in a Western movie because all the doors were shut and they're all old wood doors a big courtyard. And he's like, I'm waiting for someone to pop out and hold them up.
Yeah.
It has that vibe, but French.
Yes. And the thing is that I've bombarded you for years on Torderby.
Let's be honest, every person who's come into this shop
gets
has been
bombarded.
offered Torderby and has fallen in love with it.
That's the thing, is that it's not just me because it's my favourite chateau. It's me because the wine's bloody good.
And I have to admit, I love their wines already.
And you just love them now.
And now I love them. I love their wines. I appreciate them more. Frederick and Benjamin, if you watch this, happy to come work with you, for you. Live in Bordeaux on a vineyard, either
ditching
way.
Me. And
Happily ditching you. No, it was really a phenomenal visit.
Yeah.
And there is just something, when I moved here, I told people back home that there was just magic in Scotland. And that's why I wanted to stay and see what this opportunity was for me. Mm-hmm. But you walk into their vineyard and honestly, I think it's whether they were there or not. There's just something that draws you to this place. Yeah. And the opportunity is so incredible. And they're doing so many cool things there already. But there's just this feeling that you get when you're there. It's just like,
this is so nice.
It's like your whole body breathes out.
Yeah. They're right up in the northern Medoc. You can see the river. They've got this little sort of mound of hill with the tower on it.
Which is actually the whole point of the tower.
Yeah.
To look around and...
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a lighthouse. And so, but when you go up that, you actually can see all of their vineyards. And you've got the house, and then you've got the river in the distance. And then you pan around, and there's the different plots of different grapes. And, and
you can see and get a sense when they're talking about which plot behaves in which way, why they've planted things in different plots, what they use the different plots for.
Yeah.
Being even on the vineyard, walking around, let alone up the tower and seeing it, you really get a sense of why and how those factors start working together. It's a really great learning spot.
I think that's possibly where you, forgive me if I'm wrong on this, started to really understand terroir. Because you could, because it's one thing learning the theory, but actually being able to see there and go, okay, right, so the Merlot's in that little dip because of this reason, and the Cabernet's here being exposed by that.
You're probably right, because even at Montifaux and Syrah, you could see it and you got it, but this, because there were the rolls and the dips, and you had the river with the breeze, and you're on the hill, and this side is colder and this side is warmer, that was the first place we saw that had that. Yeah. And because I was never trade before, when I visited vineyards, I'd not been... Like, you can ask all the questions you want, but they kind of look at you and they're like, but you're not trade. So we're not going to go into the technical details. But Frederick especially was like, technics. Yeah. Technicals. Yeah. Technicals?
Yeah.
Details?
Details.
Yes. Love this.
Yeah.
We'll answer all the questions. But they took us through everything, and they, we saw the buds that we'd seen at the other places, but they walked us through literally every single step of it. And answered all the questions. And the tower is beautiful, and the sun was setting over the river.
It was so lovely. Nice. We couldn't go into the actual chateau because, unfortunately, it had a fire a few years ago, and they're in the midst of renovating it and getting it back up to scratch. But we did go into the winery.
In their winery.
Yeah.
And the pressing area, and their tanks.
You move back in time.
Yes, they've just left things, and they have their little mini museum, which I thought was quite cool as well, so you can see how people have done it in the past, and really, it's not changed all that
No,
much.
and you learn about in the museum. You learn about the history of their grandfather,
Which is just a cool story.
I
We'll
mean, yeah.
deal with that later.
You learn about the history of Tour de Bee, but the sort of real museum is a living museum in that it's their winery. That everything is just as it was. I mean, yes, there may be some new plasticky pipes that you pump things through, but still everything is just
They even
old-fashioned.
have their old pressing system still works.
Yeah.
The way they used like a railroad system for their pressing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just very cool.
And so that's the real museum. That's the bit that you go and you sort of go, wow.
You know what?
Big old beams that are just across the top, but
they've just not done much to it, and
No.
it's lovely how it works, and that does affect the wine.
But they're not adverse to changing things.
Yes, which is where I was going, because it
Right,
was
okay.
the first place we went that we saw terracotta eggs.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And this is an interesting phenomenon we'll talk a little bit more about in other videos, because people were doing some really cool things with them. But Frederick in particular, started talking about the difference between barrels, concrete vats, which they don't have.
Yeah.
But they do have these terracotta eggs, and he's really excited about the potential for them, because moving away from wood and barrels and the expense there and just the effect on the environment and blah, 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 blah. But there are these new terracotta eggs, and they're experimenting right now with how it affects the aging of the wine, because they are porous, but they obviously don't have that toasted wood flavor that you're bringing, but they do give a different flavor.
Yeah.
And how those can be blended. And I don't think any of them ever think they'll move 100%
No.
over, but it's an interesting way to start blending them. And some of the other vineyards talked about it a bit more. But yeah, they do. They try new things. They're experimenting, which we'll talk more about with the ones we had at dinner.
Yep.
But
And it's
all
just
around
lovely. And then we went for dinner. So we went to their other chateau.
Dinner. We went to the place we were staying.
We went to the place we were staying. We stayed at Chateau de Vallière, which is a 3-4 minute drive, if that, in the neighbouring town. And
it's theirs.
It's theirs. They own it, and we got shown to our room. You got the best room.
I did.
And us boys were put upstairs, but to be
Benjamin
fair, I got the small room, and the small room was about the size of my shop.
Yes.
Okay.
But,
So
look, we were Frederick
was
and Benjamin were staying
awesome.
with
Yeah,
us as well,
yeah.
because they were obviously doing the Primeuring. They don't live on the vineyard, so it was easier for them to stay there. So we were all staying in this house, and they gave us dinner.
And Benjamin was the one that was, throwing pans around in the kitchen.
Well, he was. Come on. A lady from the village dropped it off, but he did take responsibility for making sure that we had a lovely time while Frederick popped
was
the champagne
and entertained us.
and answered all of our questions about everything. And Benjamin answered all our questions. They brought us into their life again. Just
that's
like
it. It's
Montefiore,
bringing.
They brought us right in. They were just absolutely themselves. Well, I think they were themselves. We were all chill. We were just having a nice time.
We were having a nice time, and I
sharing
think that's what was cool about it.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we just were sort of, friends coming in for dinner. And yes, fine, we went through their wine. Yes, they told us about their wines and what they were doing that was new and changing a few things. But
you know what was really nice about that, and I'm really sorry to interrupt, was it wasn't like Chateau Siran or even Montefiore, where they just walked us through all their recent stuff.
But it was a different environment. They were there for a presentation of their wines.
It was a different thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we just did 17, 18, 19,
No,
20.
no.
It was, here's 20 as a present, and I brought those all home, and they will be saved for special occasions.
Yes.
But it was, let's open a, I don't remember,
a 2005 and a
15,
95 Magnum and the 99 Heritage in Magnum.
Which came out much later. It was like it was like an afterthought. Like, we're having such a nice time. Let me go get my grandfather's wine.
Yeah.
And
it was so cool.
It was so cool. We were all just drinking. We weren't even tasting. We were just like a 5-hour dinner, 6-hour dinner, just tasting, like
7-hour
drinking wine.
dinner.
3-course meal that was absolutely phenomenal. Whoever made that, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. And having a lovely chat, sharing stories, answering questions, talking about the things that we're doing, that they're doing. They did pull out that white, and I want that white.
And this is the thing. When I first went to Tour de Bee, and I told them this, I followed their wine for years, and I didn't want to go because I was terrified that they were going to be, well, the word I used when I was telling them this was assholes.
They thought that was the funniest thing.
And the thing is, they are the exact opposite of assholes.
Yes.
They're so lovely. And when I realized this, when the first wine I ever drank in Bordeaux was champagne made by somebody they knew. And
Which was
so,
the same
and
thing
they
here.
say we arrive at Tour de Bie. The first thing that they're opening is a bottle of Veuve Fourny, a champagne. And so we sat down, we had some canapes with that, and then we went through to dinner after Benjamin had, smashed something with a pan or whatever he was doing.
I was making a lot of noise, but it was very charming.
And I love their dinner gong. Is Benjamin in the kitchen just going, dinner?
And Frederick's like, oh dear, we should go through.
Yeah.
But we had a lovely 3-course meal.
But the only thing that was, if you like, and because it is that sort of welcome to our family, the only thing that was a presentation, and I totally get why they did it, was that white. Because it's brand new,
and
first
it was
vintage.
a tester, and we got to test it and share our opinions at the table with the 2 guys who are making it.
100% Sauvignon Blanc.
And didn't taste like it.
And it's just, what it reminded me of was sort of the sort of higher end Pesach-y sort of white Bordeaux's. And what they've done with that 100% Sauvignon Blanc, and it's going to be the first vintage, so it's always going to be a bit of trial for them, and it will evolve over time and it will change. But that first vintage, they've sort of really nailed an excellent white Bordeaux. 4,500 bottles made, I think, something like that, from a little plot. I think half a hectare plot. I will be getting as much of this in as I can.
I'll be taking a case.
Because it's the 22 vintage. It's just lovely white
drinking.
Bordeaux.
And you know what? It was really cool because we're sat there with Simon and Stevie and Charlie and obviously the 2 of us. And Frederick basically said he was really happy with it, but he wasn't 100% sold on it.
Yeah.
And he felt it needed some adjusting.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. As you said, first vintage. But we all got to share our opinions with them.
Yeah.
And we all thought different things.
Yes.
And that's what really was cool about it, I think, because you always know, like, as a winemaker, they have to make some seriously challenging decisions and be very picky about what they're doing, and ultimately has to be, well, there's 2 different ways of making, right? There's people who are commercially sensitive and people who are doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that choice is quite challenging, but Simon thought they should add a little bit of another grape.
Semillon, I think it was on Muscadel or something like that, yeah.
You thought...
I thought, no, I just think play around a little bit with different ways of maturing it, because I think you can make excellent 100% Sauvignon Blanc in Bordeaux.
And I felt like I actually really loved how it drank. I was just missing a little bit of like a at the end. Mm-hmm. And that was it.
And the wonderful thing is it will age, so it's just going to be something that you can buy and keep for a while and just experiment with it. To be honest, there was their fresh wine, their lighter style of Bordeaux that they're doing as well.
Which was also nice.
Which was lovely, light, easy, approachable. A lot of Bordeaux producers are doing this, producing a sort of fresher style to appeal to...
A claret almost.
Yeah, it's sort of Parisian bars that want things like that. So,
light, easy drinking, reds, early summer, late spring red.
Yeah, and that's really when the presentation stopped.
And that's when it stopped, and that's when
they
just
dinner started.
left open magnums on the table, all the bottles. We just poured as we wanted. We enjoyed a 3-course meal that was really, really nice, and we just chatted. And then we finished dinner. We took the wines, and they also opened the what were we even drinking? Rum and
there was rum
Armagnac
and Armagnac and just we just
cognac,
chatted until
3 a.m.
3 a.m. Which was a mistake.
Look,
because it
I
was lovely.
sat there. It hit 2 o'clock. It's like, I need to go to bed. But I am having such a nice time. I don't want to go to bed.
Yeah.
But they were just, they were so lovely.
They really were.
2 of my favorite people that I'm not entirely friends with, but I just really enjoy. Hopefully we'll all become very good friends, and hopefully they'll come up here.
Yeah,
really soon.
We're looking at trying to get Benjamin up in the autumn to do something. So that's your job next week to try and get that arranged this week. Yeah.
But lovely time. We woke up in the morning. We had to get going quite early, as did Benjamin and Frederick back from Amherst. We were all dragging a little bit. Simon bless you for driving, because the
Yes.
rest of us fell asleep.
Yes.
But up early in the morning, said goodbye. They were just the most gracious hosts in the world. And we really were in their home. This is
Yeah.
a place they rent out occasionally, but they do
Yeah.
use it for
They
their
use it
family.
for looking after people and taking care of people, and it's just that every time you go, you just like them more. It's as simple as that.
So yeah, I think
I am a bit of a fanboy.
You
I'm
are
the first
a fanboy.
to
No, you're
I'm
a
the first to
total
admit
fanboy.
it, but
I'm over here like developing marketing plans for the UK customers and wanting to just be best friends.
Yes,
He's
yeah.
the fanboy.
I'm not. But the thing is that they're just nice. I mean, you've got that photo of me and Benjamin at the
So
top.
fun. I love that thing. But anyway, I don't think we can go on anymore about how great they were, how lovely the visit was. So
Just buy Tour de
and
Bees
say
wines.
thank you very much.
And yes, thank you as always, Benjamin and Frederick. Thank you very, 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 very
Merci
much.
beaucoup.